Who could have played the Morpheus role better? Why is Tom Ellis, who every fan knows as Lucifer, excluded? Maybe there's a bigger reason the fans aren't content with the cast of the Sandman. Keep watching to find out. The Dream King. Longtime fans of the Sandman comics have their own imagination of the Dream, and if anything, it isn't what Netflix portrays. Based on Neil Gaiman's own description of him, the fans believe that he designed Morpheus with his features when he was younger. But it'll be weird to have Neil play the role himself. Also, he mentioned some actors he had imagined for the role at the time, like Johnny Depp, but who no longer fit into the age Morpheus is supposed to be. Because really, he's an ageless character. Fans also thought there could have been many actors to portray Morpheus in his different phases. But only one was needed for the show anyway. So, who should have snatched this role and made it better than Tom Sturridge? While reading the comics from years back, the fans had their own ideas about who had the perfect eyes and body for Dream. A page on Reddit was particularly dedicated to Benedict Cumberbatch, with a picture that shows his resemblance to the graphic drawings of Dream. One fan even admitted how he'd always read Dream with Benedict's voice. Another fan also mentioned how Benedict gets too deep into his roles and is so good at portraying the character he gets to play. And that could have been a plus if he'd have been cast. Imagine if Dream had been played by him. You'd probably be seeing him in your dreams by now because of how real his depiction would seem. And it's funny because long before casting happened, the fans already knew he was the best fit for the role. Seeing how Cillian Murphy nailed his role in Peaky Blinders and how his eyes can be flirty and daunting, he could have been Dream as well. Cillian has that appeal and sense of self. He also has the authority to make unyielding nightmares and kingdoms blend, and many fans would have thought of no one else as Morpheus but him. Maybe if Morpheus had made different appearances, Cillian would have made it to the show, but since that isn't the case, the fans can't ignore how he should have been cast instead based on his acting mastery. Lucifer Morningstar. The idea of the series, Lucifer, comes from the spin-off of the great comic, The Sandman itself, and the show, which reveals Lucifer Morningstar leaving his duty in hell to open a piano bar in Los Angeles, was very successful with Tom Ellis as Lucifer. The fans would agree that Tom is that actor who could make the devil a sweet character to watch and admire. And he definitely did make Lucifer admirable. Lucifer gave such a great show and was loved. So, if Tom was so great at playing Lucifer, why was Gwendolyn Christie cast as Lucifer then? It's so straightforward. As the co-creators of the show and Neil put it, Tom as Lucifer would be too distracting for Morpheus. He's tricky and could make Morpheus and the rest of his demons laugh and probably party, which will derail their sense of purpose. Neil said, "He is so lovable, he is so wonderful, you love him so much that I couldn't sell the world on Tom's Lucifer as being a genuine threat because you'd go, oh, he'd get them all wound up and then they'd all go for a drink." But really, isn't having fun-loving Lucifer the best? Tom's always the face known as Lucifer, and to many fans, he should have been cast instead. Michael Sheen is another actor that could have portrayed the Lucifer role perfectly well. He's one of the actors that feature in the Sandman audiobooks, and the fans can tell his voice carries the charisma and tremor Gwendolyn's voice fails at. Some admirers thought Michael was the perfect choice to play Lucifer, and they thought it would be him as soon as the Sandman was announced as a TV show. With how successful Michael as Lucifer made the audiobooks seem, it's understandable why he should have had the role. But some other fans are saying he might not really have the physique for Lucifer. That's funny because Lucifer doesn't have a form. The character isn't a man or a woman, and if Michael could get the voice, the physique is less of a worry. Desire. Desire is one of the most interesting and beloved of the endless siblings on the show, and they definitely gave the fans what they wanted. Could there be any actor who could have done better? The attractive actor Ruby Rose, who was in Orange is the New Black, has been said to have the same looks as the comics Desire. A fan mentioned how Rose could have nailed the show when they said, "In that image, she actually looks perfect for the role, even works with the non-binary designation Rose uses. Sure really looks incredibly perfect." A Twitter user also shared this image that had Rose looking so deeply like Desire with the caption, "Ruby Rose equals Desire from Sandman," or is it just me? Tilda Swinton is another fantastic actress who fans believe should have been cast as Desire. The actress is known for her epic role in Doctor Strange. And many years ago, the fans already saw her as the Desire that should be shown in the Sandman. Despite many Redditors agreeing that she should have been cast, some other fans think she lost the chance only because she's older. But for such a great actress anyway, many fans would readily desire that she was in on it. Death. The casting of Death is another popular one from the series that has raised many questions among the fans. Even though Neil already cleared the air that the endless siblings could take any form, some fans have thought there are actors who could have made it better. As portrayed in the Sandman, Death is calm with kind eyes and was so perfectly played by the actress Kirby Howell-Baptiste. Even though Kirby was great, some supporters believe someone already familiar with the fantasy world like Emma Watson could have been better. After becoming popular for playing Hermione in Harry Potter, the fans could only see the potential in her that would make Death more vivid. For a young and attractive woman who dresses up casually, Emma's fans could only imagine her as the best-fitting cast. For something that's so scary and maybe even relieving, an actor like Margot Robbie might be the best fit. And having been known as DC Comics' Harley Quinn, the fans would have expected her to be cast as Death. Margot is that actress who can be comforting to a child and also be hilarious to a scared and ailing old man. Imagining how her smile could be so refreshing but also nerving is what the fans expected her to bring to the show had she been cast. And what's a better way to pass the feeling Death gives than that? Rose Walker. The dreadful dream vortex Rose, played by Kaio Ra, didn't cut it for many fans. Some could easily agree that her expressions are poor and that her performance wasn't so great in the show. It was disappointing to the fans given how much screen time she got and the trauma she went through. At that point, some fans couldn't possibly imagine her as a threat to Dream. So, who could have felt this character deep enough to carry the fans along with the grief? The teenage actress Masai Martin as Rose sounds like a big threat that'd shake Dream's world to the fans. Martin is funny and isn't easily intimidated, even though some fans think she could also possibly lack the necessary expressions to show emotions. They'd believe she'd still pull off the character perfectly well. If she had been cast, she would certainly have made the Dream Vortex more interesting, but also a dangerous threat to Morpheus. Now, Millie Bobby Brown isn't so used to playing a supporting role, but think about it. How would it feel to have Millie's expressions and deep connections on the Sandman? If Millie had been cast as Rose, she'd have played the role of how high and low her emotions played out while separating and meeting back with her brother Jed. And surely Dream would have had a harder time on screen with her as the Dream Vortex than he did with Kaio. Seeing how Millie was able to combine love, emotions, strength, and fear as Eleven in Stranger Things, she's definitely meant to be the perfect threat to the endless sibling. And Millie enjoys standing up to a different world dimension. That's why she'd have definitely made this a more interesting and engaging show for fans. Despair. Despair appears only once in a scene with Desire, and the fans could see that Desire controls every conversation between them and what happens next. But Despair, as her name suggests, sits and answers dejectedly. Donna Preston, who plays Despair in the show, only got a scene in the first season to show herself to the fans, but to many fans, the little playout wasn't impressive enough. For a person in despair, life can be discouraging. This can make them show less care for maintaining their physical appearance. And fans thought Sharon Rooney might have been able to play this role perfectly well. Given her role as Ray Earl in My Mad Fat Diary, it's believed she can portray how dejected one of the Endless feels in comparison to the twin Desire. Lena Dunham is another actress who the fans think should have been cast for the show. She understands what it feels like to fight hate and has lived through controversies and could have known how to make despair live up to her name. From the body description and body transformations experienced by Despair in the comics to Lena's real-life troubles, it's enough to say that the energy matches and that she should have been cast. What difference do you think these castings would have made? Share your thoughts in the comments and thanks for watching.